Welcome back to the table slash shaky cam. Doesn't look too shaky today. Nice. Alright, we're going to play some Captain C. What this video is just a kind of rundown of some things I'm going to do differently than the base game. So don't take this as a tutorial. This is me and how I plan on playing it. I've experimented with some things and it makes sense to me. Now, the game, when you get it, there's an errata, and go hit Board Game Geek because there's some questions I had that were answered on the forums, and the game plays pretty good. I'm hoping one day to get to print out the rule book and print out the updated play aid chart, and then I think things will go smoother. As it is, I tried to make some marks in my book, and I'm trying to remember the errata changes, but it's not perfect. Also, just the way the game flows, it took me a while to kind of get a feel for it. So I think I mostly got it down. If I'm wrong on something, I'm playing from the perspective of kind of what makes sense for me. So please point out things that I forgot, because again, when you play solo, and it's easy to forget things because you're playing solo. Alright, but with that in mind, let's talk about what we're going to do. I am going to play the first mission out of the playbook, and that's what I've been playing, and it's pretty fun. So if we go and look at that real quick, got to find it here. There's a huge play example. And then what we're doing is the Constellation versus the Insurgent. So this was the first victory by an American vessel against a foreign vessel. As part of the quasi-war with France, the Constellation under Thomas Truxtun was dispatched with a small squadron into the Caribbean to counter raids by the French against American merchant ships. At noon on the 9th, the Constellation sighted a frigate sailing under American colors. After failing to respond to both British and American signals from the Constellation, the frigate responded by raising French colors and firing a warning shot. With this response, the chase was on. Unfortunately, action was delayed when both ships ran into a gale, where the insurgent suffered significant rigging damage. This allowed the Constellation to eventually close and engage. However, due to high seas and overarming, the Constellation could not open her lower gun ports when holding the weather gauge. As the Constellation closed, the French captain Michael Pierre Barreau attempted to contact the Constellation to avoid conflict. Truxtun would have none of it. America! He ordered the Constellation to close and opened up with double-shot broadside, causing severe damage to the French quarterdeck. The French responded with an ineffectual shot against the Constellation's rigging. Truxtun conceded the weather gauge to Barreau by crossing the insurgent's bow and raking her in the process. Now downwind, a full American broadside could be fired. The French made a desperate attempt to grapple the Constellation, but were unable to catch her due to rigging damage sustained earlier. From this new position, the Constellation continued to pour shot into the insurgent, while the latter continued to fire into the American rigging. The Constellation managed to cross back over the French bow, releasing another rake, followed by a final close-range and devastating broadside into the insurgent. The final blow eliminated the last of the French gunnery, forcing Barreau to strike his ship's color. So I probably mispronounced the French name. Sorry, I don't speak French. But yeah, this is it. So we're going to do the Constellation. So on the map here, for this, we'll probably have to move the camera around a little bit every once in a while, but we have on the map, starting position A, there's the Constellation, because it says the Constellation is starting on A, bearing 3, which the little center compass, direction 3, is east. Their crew rating is crack, which I have marked on the ship sheet. Then there's a victory point multiplier and a bonus. And the insurgent starts on the B, which is down here, kind of in the south of the map board. Same thing, bearing of 3. Their crew rating is only a 2, they're average. And then it's got some victory point multipliers. The wind is blowing in the number 5 direction. So that's That's the basic game setup. And then from there, boom, the fight is on. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things I plan on doing when I play. So first of all, I'm playing solo. The game really does shine as a two-player game. And so solo, that's tricky. I've tried to read a few things like how other people play solo. Here's the concepts I came up with. Now, in the game, you are going to draw 3 cards when you start, and you have these like deck cards, and they will modify gameplay that you could play on yourself, on your opponent. So like here's one, add +1 to each non-smoke defense die roll. Alright, sweet. Here's one, fire when ready. Add 1 to each attack die roll made by a single section. Okay, great. So what I would do is, hand 3 out. But what I'm going to do is you get no cards when you start. And when you do the housekeeping phase, the initiative player gets to draw 1 card. That's the card I will draw. So if the French have initiative, they'll get the initiative card. And then if it's a play now, you got to play it now. But try not to show the cards there to myself. But if it's a card that they can hold, they'll play at a reasonable time. Because I'll say, or since I'm playing both sides, trying to play them evenly both sides, when the card seems appropriate to play, I'll play the card. So they're going to get 1 card every once in a while. But here's the thing with the cards. The cards, if you don't want to use the card, you can use it and use it to apply a +1 to any single die roll, or a -1 if it's appropriate. So since I'm not stockpiling cards, how would I know that I could play a card for a bonus? Well, I'm glad you asked. So a while ago, when I was role-playing, I have a game called Fate, and they have what are called Fate dice. And basically, on the Fate die, you have 2 sides that are blank, 2 sides with a plus, and 2 sides with a minus. Now, when I do a roll, like if I'm doing gunnery or something, and I'm rolling 4 dice, I'll roll the Fate. Now, if the Fate comes up with a +1, then, as appropriate, I can add 1 to one of those dice rolls, thus simulating that a card was played. Yeah, easy. So, you do it again. That was a plus, so you got a negative, but since I'm like doing gunnery and you're trying to get high, that would mean that there was no card played. So no card was played. So this only gives you a 2 out of 6 chance to get a plus symbol, which doesn't seem all that bad. I'm not good with math. What is that, like a 30% chance or something like that? So yeah, every once in a while you do get a plus, and you get to apply that to a single. Now the thing is with cards, if you're hoarding up cards, you could play like 3 cards and modify potentially 3 dice. This kind of limits that a little bit, but does allow you to simulate that a card was played, and then it leaves the cards for the face value what it is. Alright, the other thing too is after playing the game, I'm not happy with static wind. The entire game, the wind is that. So I have an answer for that too. At the housekeeping phase, there's a segment where the smoke dissipates and then it drifts with the wind. So before I move the smoke, what I'm going to do is roll 2 Fate dice. And if the symbols come up matching like that, this has been perfect examples. What I would do is negative is going to be counterclockwise, positive is clockwise. So I rolled a negative, so that means the wind is going to shift 1 segment to the 4, like counterclockwise on the compass. And the reason I like that is because that, in nature the wind is changing. Now, for the timing of the game and the scale of the game, I'm sure you could play out an entire battle and the wind would not significantly change that much. But I'm used to playing that way from other games I've had, where every few impulses, turns, or whatever, there's a weather check. And I like that. So I'm keeping that. So it might not be realistic to the scale and time of this game, but I thought that would be fun. And of playing it, that's actually the first time I've had the wind change. So I was like, oh, okay. Mostly I get that. If the symbols don't match, the wind doesn't move. There we go. Then it moves back to the original position. But that is always going to keep your ships on their toes, because if they're moving along and they're happy with the wind, all of a sudden the wind shifts, they have to adjust their strategy from there. So that's another thing I'm doing, because fun to me. Now, the only significant rule change I'm going to make is with straining. And basically straining is, and you'll see when we play, when you make a maneuver that's going to take you multiple turns to complete. Like you're starting it on turn 5 of the game and you won't complete it until turn 6, then your ship will be under strain. Or if you get to the end of a turn after you complete all the impulses, if you're not familiar with the game, I'm using terminology you don't quite get yet, but essentially at the end of a turn, players can strain the ship to conduct a bonus move. Now, wording in the game is a little awkward. It says if you are straining your ship because of a maneuver, that you may attempt to get the bonus move, but you still have to check for strain. Then, if you aren't doing what's called an illegal maneuver, but you just want to attempt to getting a bonus move, then you would do a strain. The thing is, though, the word attempt got me thinking, because if you read the rules on how to do a strain, it says you move the ship their bonus move, and then you roll to check for damage on the rigging. And the word attempt back in section whatever, where it just talks about strain and illegal maneuvers, I'm like, well, I like that word attempt. So instead of just saying that the bonus move automatically happens, you're going to have to do your strain check to see if the maneuver was successful. So when you're picking strain, you have to pick a 1 or a 2. And when you roll a die 6, you have to roll a 6 to prevent damage to the rigging. So like if I roll that and I got a 1, and you get to pick what strain block you want to do. This is how much damage you'll take to your rigging if you fail this roll. So this is a bonus to your dice. So there's a gamble. So if I pick strain 2, I'm going to add 2 to the die roll, which makes it that much easier to get a 6. But again, if I fail, I'm going to take 2 points of rigging damage. So in this example, my ship failed, will take 2 points of rigging damage, and does not get to do the bonus move. So that bonus move is not automatic. The rule book makes that bonus move automatic, and then you check for rigging damage. For me, I think it's the simulationist punishment, self-punishment or whatever. You have to earn that bonus move because it's called a bonus move. So if you successfully do the straining and keep your rigging from getting damaged, you get your bonus move. So that's like the only big rule change I'm doing. Everything else I'm really trying to keep as much as possible. I mean, other than the wind, but then for the solo, there's, roll a dice for, card play. But otherwise, the game will be pretty much played as I'm understanding it with errata changes and whatnot. Whew, so hopefully we're okay. So that I just wanted to cover was how we're going to play this scenario, and what we'll do now is stop here and the next video we'll play. I don't know how much I'll get to play because I do have commitment to make video for something else, and I have to clear the table at some point, but I like the game. I hope to come back to it. Now, a thing is, when you're watching, keep in mind though, this is not a simulation game, right? If you want a good simulation game where you're down to, sea states and variable wind strengths and whatnot, the different types of cannon sizes you have, you might want to try like Post Captain for miniatures or Fire She Bears. Or if you're into, keep that board game aspect, you might try Flying Colors. But more simulation-y, you might want to try like Heart of Oak or Men in Irons or Close Action. So there's quite a few Age of Sail games that can get pretty detailed with the movement. This is a ship management game. So you're managing your ship, you're managing your crew, you're managing how it's maneuvering on the board, but it's not a simulation. So I enjoy it as that it's It's incredibly fun, and we're going to play it, show it to you, and I hope you enjoy it too. Oh, there is one thing. So this video is going to be a little bit longer. I did forget this. Because I'm playing solo, I did find this on Board Game Geek. Someone created this really cool AI spinner thing, which helps people decide how the AI ship will move. So you have this tool, and I like this because it feels very Age of Sail-y, weird compass dial thing, and you have this book of maneuvers. So what you do is, the wind is blowing this direction, so you're going to point this in the direction the wind is coming from. Then, in relation to the enemy ship, this is the AI ship, you put where the other ship is, I guess, to you. So in this case, it's straight across, and then the AI ship is heading this direction in a 3. And this is great because all of these compass directions match up with the square compass here. So this is like the perfect tool. And then you read it down. This gives you a 1, 1, 3. Then you look in the book, and I gotta find 1, 1, 3. Why is there no 1, 1, 3? Well, great. Now that I look at it, where's the 1, 1, 3 column? Oh, I must have printed the wrong thing. Great, I don't see a 1, 1, 3. We're missing that. I knew we were missing something. Great. Well, now I can't even show you that. But basically, if this was 1, 1, 3, maybe there's not a 1. Maybe I do 3, 1, 1. Let's see if there's a 3, 1, 1. Maybe I'm reading it backwards. Yeah, there's a 3, 1, 1. So if I go 3, 3, 2, 1. Why? This seems to be missing a lot. Great. Well, apparently this isn't going to help me out. Okay, well, earlier when I played it, it was great because the ship would be like there. The wind is blowing this way. My ship was out that way, and this ship was this way. 1, 2, 3. Well, guess what? There is a 1, 2, 3. You roll a die 6, you take the result, look here on the 1, 1, 2, 3, it says you're going to turn the ship to the northeast, and then it's going to move straight forward. Now, that helps you select your maneuver because the way the maneuvering works is I would look and go, the wind is hitting the G, I look at my maneuver chart on the G, and to move straight ahead across a corner is going to be a maneuver that takes 3 turns to accomplish. So this just kind of gives you, how the ship is moving because it's trying to move on intercept courses to my ship. I'm going to have to go back now and see if there's an updated chart that includes the 111 family because now I feel like I'm missing some stuff. This doesn't accommodate all the possible combinations I need. But the ones that are there work great. Alright, well, not perfect. A little disappointed, bummed. I'll include a link to it, and maybe someone can help fix that chart for me. Give me some tips on how I can make that work. Alright, anyway, thanks for watching. We'll come back and we'll start playing. Alright, bye.